Hello and welcome to LoveWorkLife Training Academy, building a recruitment desk, backed by popular demand by people who were on last week's Training Academy, basically emailing me and telling me what they wanted on this week's Training Academy. So as people start to log in, again, it's a very busy webinar, then I'd like to say welcome to everybody. I hope you're all having a good hump day, as they keep calling now Wednesday. I'm not too sure why they call it hump day. I know it's the middle of the week, but really, to me, it's the exciting part of the week, because now the week really starts to take off and starts to drive, as we should be sort of looking at bringing success in. So as always, let's have a quick view of who's on today. We've got people from Amicus, Ignata, Exact Resorting, Westray, JS Recruitment, Farringdon Recruitment, Invictus, Octopus, Impact, Premier, IT. We've got people from May Stevenson, Flexology, Hall Recruitment. We've got people from Fight. We've got people from Star Recruit, Prosper. We've got lots of people from Westray looking at this that's coming through, which is excellent. Change, Bonbon Languages, Keenan Recruitment. Welcome to the Irish people. G2 Group. SLR Solutions, TN Recruitment, Experis. We've got people from Brightmatch, TaylorMade Recruitment, Impact Recruitment. We've got also people from, where else are we from here? Aventus Legal. We've got people from, a lot of people from Hotmail, Harper HR. We've got people from, where else we got people from there? That's about everything I think that we've got sort of coming through from there. We've got TTS 24/7, the Contract Doctor, which is still, I think, is a great name. JLS Solutions, G2 Legal, I think I've already mentioned. From there. So as people keep coming in, okay, I want to keep in mind that we run these every week, and what I want to make sure is that people get value out of these every week. So if there's a topic that you want us to cover, that we either have covered in the past, like this one, or a new topic that you want us to cover, then feel free to email me at howard@loveworklife.com, and I will basically endeavor to make sure that your wish is my command, and we will sort of deliver those type of solutions to you. So let's kick off. There's lots of people coming in today. So building a permanent desk. And I always think that building a permanent desk and building a contract desk, etc., there are very big similarities here across the whole lot. And how we build is really important, and that's where the similarities sort of change. And we've got to get into our mind what we're actually building. Now, we've all been off, or potentially lots of people have been off for quite some time. Also, some people have been on, working throughout this period. And so there's going to be lots of different things that we need to start to consider. And what lockdown has started to teach us is lots of different ways that we can actually recruit. And I remember rolling out my age-old comment, there's no wrong and right ways to recruit, there are only better ways. So as we start to watch this webinar and we start to look what's going on at this webinar, what we've got to start to think is, how do I improve my recruitment service? What can I do to make my service better for my candidates and for my clients and for myself? As soon as we start to understand those things, then it becomes a whole different project. So what I want to do is strip back and go back to basics, and I'm going to look at the things that we would normally do to build a basic desk, and then look at the advanced things that we should be doing constantly to make sure that desk is absolutely perfect and constantly running. And maintaining the desk is really important. Building it is one thing, but keeping it in ship shape and Bristol fashion, again, is another. So the objectives that we're going to cover today are very simple. We're going to look at product, we're going to look at pitch, we're going to look at profile, we're going to look at Publicise, we're going to look at partnership, and we're going to look at process. I'm going to look at them in very, very different ways. I'm going to look at them to make sure that people understand. So I said, I ran this course probably, I think it was the first course I ran about 15, 16 weeks ago. So what I'm going to try and interject into this course is what we had before lockdown, what we've learnt during lockdown, and how we now need to apply this going into the new world. So there's lots of things that I think that we can learn and should be learning to make sure that we actually progress going forward. So first of all, we've got to look at the product. And the product that we are talking about here is obviously our client base. So we start to think about the product. The client base is based on a niche. That niche could be a technical niche that's got high demand, a geographical niche, okay, or an industry niche. Now, there's still lots of generalist agencies out there, and although they might not think they have a niche, they potentially have a niche that they need to explore and need to look at. What we've got to start to think was when we start to build a desk and when we start to come back truly into work, let's start looking at the clients that we're currently working with. Let's look at the market that we're currently working with and how productive is that market? Is that genuinely going to give me the opportunity to make the placements that I want? And to do that, we've got to really make sure that we do an awful lot of due diligence. So due diligence now, we've got to start to look at the number of clients that we're working with, as well as the number of candidates that we're working with. We've got to start to think about the clients and candidates and how they match. And I've always a prime example to say, Perm is one of those marketplaces where you can be, seen to be a brilliant permanent consultant because you've got lots and lots of jobs on. And it's great that you've got lots of jobs on. But however, the comment is always going to be, how well qualified are those jobs? And to debate the qualification, the next question would always be, what are the number of candidates that you have now that can fill those jobs? So the number of candidates then in the marketplace are really important. And what you've got to start to think about your marketplace regarding candidates and clients, can one feed the other? Because you can have as many jobs as you want, but if you haven't got candidates, you're unlikely to make a placement. You can have as many candidates that you want, but if you haven't got good client relationships, it's going to be really hard to make a placement. So we've got to think about the market. The other thing we've got to start to think about is the amount of competition, the amount of people in the marketplace that are working there. Now we've got to sort of think, and I've used this analogy now quite a lot over the last 2 or 3 weeks, is that a client and a candidate are like that piece of bread on a seashore, and there's hundreds and hundreds of seagulls pecking at that piece of bread. And what they're doing, they start to peck at the bread, but then they start to peck at each other, and it becomes a very, very competitive place for that piece of bread. That piece of bread is your candidate or your client. The seagulls are us, the agencies. So there's lots of competition constantly going on, and we're all competing for the same thing. So we've got to start to think about how we can compete in a slightly different way. And so I don't want to call you people are all competitors to each other, because I don't think you are competitors. We're all adversaries. We work in the same marketplaces, but we need each other in the marketplace to help the marketplace develop and build the marketplace. But how we work against each other or with each other then becomes very, very different. So if we are working in that manner, how do we get out of that, competitive environment of recruitment? How do we get out of that bloodbath of recruitment where we're all pecking at each other into a shallow, nice, clear pool where there's just you and a client? And that's all about creating value. There are lots of complacency in the marketplace at the moment. So we've got to start to think how we can get ourselves into a position where clients look at us for value. It's interesting, I've been doing lots of research, as people will know have been speaking to me, and I've been sort of looking at this research quite heavily over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I've been coming up with lots of things. And having sort of reviewed lots of research, the one thing that is very clear, and I'm just sort of trying to flick to some of my notes here, one of the things the research is very, very clear, is that 98% of clients want to do one thing coming out of a lockdown. They want to reduce their cost of recruitment. And they want to reduce it because they didn't see recruitment as a value. Now that means that they don't see us as agencies as a value. So we've got to start to look at what we can do to change that. And part of that is how we do our due diligence and what we do when we start to look at our marketplace and plan our marketplace. Because if 98% of our client base feels that we do not add value, that means one thing for us. Even if we increase our value by 1% and improve our service by 1%, we're lifting ourselves out of that bloodbath. If you improve by 10%, you're miles above that bloodbath. 20%. So all of a sudden, if you're getting higher and higher and further away from that bloodbath, then all of a sudden you have better opportunities. And it's quite interesting. I used to watch, I used to work in London, and I use this analogy quite often, that I watch people in London, Leicester Square when you could, feeding the birds, throwing bread to the birds, and watching all the birds come scavenging in, and hundreds of them there. And it was interesting. I was watching the birds on the outside, the ones that would sit by someone who was eating a sandwich. So they weren't involved in the bloodbath of all the birds trying to eat one piece of bread. They were sat looking at somebody that was eating a sandwich. And 9 times out of 10, they got a nice piece of that sandwich because the customer looked at it, or the person sat on the bench looked at the bird and gave them it. So they weren't competing. They were giving the person an individual view of that bird and an individual view of what that bird could give them. And they were then giving something back to the bird that was simple to them. So they weren't competing with the rest of the marketplace. And I always found it interesting watching the smart ones do that type of thing and therefore not have to compete. So we've got to think about the longevity of our marketplace. Is there plenty of scope for development going on? So when we start to think about our product, we've got to also start to think about where we find our product. And we've got to look at the things that we've started to learn over lockdown. Building a candidate database is really important. And when you start to look at your CRM and you start to look at job boards, the simple question is, where can you get candidates from quickly who know you and trust you? And the answer simply isn't the job boards. So it means that our CRM has to be working. It has to be functional. So if you haven't taken the last 15 weeks as an opportunity to build your CRM and create a marketplace in your CRM that you can actually compartmentalize and therefore market directly to them, and that you've got an opportunity to get to know these people, then you've missed out on a huge opportunity. One of the things that clients said that they want to increase and improve is their ability to have a better candidate process that means it gives the candidate a better customer experience. If we're already creating that customer experience before the client even talks to us, then we're adding value to the client straight away. We've got to also start to think the passive market is a great place to build. And it's interesting speaking to people now, and they're talking about, clients are going to be able to do all this by themselves because, there's been lots of people being made redundant. There's going to be people looking to change jobs. The market's going to be very, very big, etc. Well, let's think about this. The day before lockdown, and let's look at today. The number of people in the candidate marketplace and the working marketplace is almost identical. The only thing that's changed is before lockdown, around about 10% of the UK marketplace was looking for work. And that would probably stretch between 10 and 15%, depending on what was going on at the time. But never above 15%, but around about 10% on average. Now, we know what's going to happen once furlough starts to look down, etc., that marketplace looking for a job is going to increase to 10 to 15 to 20, maybe 25% of the marketplace is looking. So it's just a different way of cutting the same marketplace. But guess what? What clients are going to tend to do is remove the people who are weaker in their business and keep the strong people in the business. So they're not adding to the marketplace and making it stronger. They're just adding to the weakness of that marketplace. Yes, there are going to be some people that come into that marketplace that are going to be absolutely brilliant. But again, how you find these people is by going to the job boards. And that's what clients will have to do. So it's going to take them an awful long time to find the right people. The passive marketplace that all recruiters say that we work in, and I often doubt that question, do we actually truly work in the passive marketplace? Because if we did, then we'd all be using our CRM perfectly and we'd know every candidate we could. So we can't all be doing that. So we need to work in that passive marketplace. And again, if that passive marketplace if you say 10% of looking for a job and would possibly move before lockdown, you might find now that that 10% is now 30% or 40%. So there's a bigger part of the massive passive marketplace that will be actually looking to move. So we've got to active market. Okay, we have an active market that's out there now and it's growing. We need to own it. So that means we need to find the candidate marketplace and really work hard in that marketplace. So stripping CVs and using that information is really important. But it's not just having that information on a piece of paper. We need to interview candidates, and we need to be interviewing candidates face-to-face or via video. And to give you an idea of the difference between understanding your candidate marketplace and not is really important. If you understand your candidate marketplace and you're in touch with your candidates and you know your candidates intimately, when the right job comes along, going to your CRM to find the right candidate quickly and efficiently means that you are reducing the cost of recruitment to your client, because you're going to expedite that recruitment process. So it's important that you know and you trust your candidates and you develop a relationship with your candidate that when you call them, they pick up the phone. So we can do over the phone interviews, but they're not as strong. So I would advocate that everyone do a video interview. Can we now put that video out to our clients and do that? We've got to qualify our candidates thoroughly now, really understand and market out our top 20% of our candidates daily to the right clients. Now that might mean only 1 or 2 client candidates that we're pushing out daily, but they should only be going to 1 or 2 clients, and it should be almost a perfect match. What can we give our clients that they haven't got? And generally what they're going to get at the moment is a lot of candidates applying for jobs that aren't particularly very good. It's that passive candidate, that candidate that they're never going to see, that is absolutely perfect for them, that we need to understand. So understanding our product is really important, okay? So we need to market to our database. And generally what we all do is market through social media posts out to LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. When really the market that is most prominent to us is our CRM. So we should be marketing to our CRM industry news, exclusive jobs, what's going on in the marketplace, etc. What we've got to remember is that if we're marketing to our candidate marketplace and our client marketplace through social media, we can't distinguish between the two. It's like saying, let's go to the pub and say, stood outside the pub door and open the pub door and say, right, okay, I now want you to say, as we look into the pub, point out who's a candidate and point out who's a client and separate them. You can't, because they're all the same. They're all candidates and clients combined when we're on social media. So we have to advertise to them or market to them in a way that captures them. That's all about their market interest. Hence why being niche sometimes is a lot easier than being a generalist. Once we start to market them, then we've got to call our candidate database monthly so we understand what's going on. And once we start to understand our candidate database and we're calling them and talking to them constantly, we start to hear the vibe of the marketplace. We start to hear the rhythm of the marketplace. We start to get information about the marketplace, which means one of a number of things. When we speak to clients, we have far more information to give them. One of the things that clients, they want better reporting capabilities on what the market looks like. We have all this market information on our CRM, but we choose very seldom to use it in a way that would benefit us. So getting that information from our candidate marketplace is really important. How we then utilize that, we'll talk about it a little bit later on. So pitching clients, okay, is really important. Okay, so I always think about when we're pitching clients, okay, we talk about knowledge. We talk about knowing your marketplace and who to target. And knowing your marketplace and who to target is really important. So we often look at client, we look at the size of the client, maybe the opportunity the client can give us, maybe the reputation of the client or the perception of that client and working to that. When we start to think about what we pitch to a client and who we're pitching to, we need to start to think about the clients that are actually going to benefit us, not just all clients. I always say that in a very, very simple world, there are 2 clients. There are those that are buying from you and those that you are actually taking candidates out of to feed the candidate clients that are buying from you. And they're the two types of clients that you want. So you don't want to work with every single client, but we need to know what's going on. So rather than looking at clients per se and saying that client over there is the best client, that client second, etc., what we should start to think about is, if you looked at all the jobs that you took on over the last 18 months, 2 years, and put them all in individual pots, and you might have 50 of one job, 100 of another job, etc., all the way through. Once we start to look at the type of jobs that we work in the main, we can then start to think, here are the jobs that we take on. What is the fill ratio of those jobs? So we might have a job with a candidate, type of job that we've taken 100 on in a year, but we've only filled 10%. So that means that 100 jobs is the most jobs that we've got from any one client or any one source, but we've only filled 10% of it. So that means 90% of our time filling those jobs has been purely wasted. We might have a job where we've only taken 30 on, but we've filled 75%. So that means that 75% is a far more productive time. So we need to think about, where do we find clients that have that type of job? You might have one client or one type of job, where you've only had 10 jobs in the year, but you've filled all 10. Where do you find those type of clients? So when we start to look for pitching clients, we need to know our marketplace, understand, can we pitch contingency, can we pitch retained, know your candidate database, because that gives you knowledge to sell to your clients and work with your clients. If we know the type of jobs that we can fill 100% of the time, or certainly 75% of the time and above, we can give our client a really good comment with regards to, this is our fill ratio on these type of jobs. If the client is pushing a job to you where you know you've got a low fill rate, and you've actually analyzed why you are not filling the jobs, you can then push that back to the client and talk to the client about why you're not filling the job. So that means when you sell your company's USPs, it's based on data, quantifiable evidence that you can prove to the client on what success that you could have based on the type of requirement that you're pulling from them. So targeting clients now become really important. So yes, focus on your potential cash cow, the client that has lots and lots of opportunities, but also focus on your potential cash cow requirement. Which is the requirements that you place most? Because then you might be able to build 4 or 5 clients rather than one big client that gives you an awful lot of money compared to the amount of time you spend. Some cash cows give you an awful lot of cash, but you spend so much time generating that money that you can't really develop anything else. So we've got to understand what we're doing with those type of marketplaces. We also need to understand that every cash cow will come to a stop at some point. So therefore, we need to develop cash calves. So who are the other people in the marketplace? What marketplace are you maximizing your time spent in? So if you're finding clients that give you jobs where you only fill 10% of those type of jobs, again, are you truly wasting your time or not? Or are you finding more clients where you know you have a really niche fill? So it doesn't matter now whether you're niche or whether you are generalist, you're looking at the clients and the requirements that you can maximize your time on. So we need to build a strong and loyal client base. And I've asked this question an awful lot over the last 15 weeks. How fragile is your client base now? And it's interesting, the answers that I've had, and most of them, it's very fragile. I've suddenly worked out that we don't have a true relationship. When I've gone back and tried to talk to them through lockdown, they don't pick up our calls, they don't speak to us, they don't talk to us, because we haven't got a genuine relationship with our clients. So we need to start to understand how we build relationships. If we can provide value and quantifiable evidence that helps the client improve their recruitment process, and we create a strong bond and a strong relationship with them, it makes it a lot harder for the client to turn elsewhere and work with somebody else. So you need to network your client marketplace now. You need to find clients that you are working with and really enjoy working with you and absolutely 100% will continue working with you, who can they introduce you to? Who can they sell to you, okay, for you, sorry. Who can they push onto you in another marketplace that will do that? But we've got to be not afraid to sack clients that waste our time. And if we really want to move forward as an industry, and this is where we start to talk about that bloodbath of recruitment, when we talk about having adversaries in the marketplace, what I want to do is make sure every recruitment agency survives in the marketplace. But if I was a smart recruitment agency, I'd say I want that agency to survive over there because they are in the same marketplace with me, but I want them to be working with all these clients that waste my time. So I'm going to push my clients onto them to a certain degree as I transition into more lucrative clients. So they're still in the marketplace and working, but we're still then fishing out of those clients that we've sacked, and they're keeping that other agency busy, which means they're keeping it out of our client base and not working in our client base. So think, if you're going to try and work with all these clients, and some of these clients might be high branded names, get rid of them, sack them if they're wasting your time. And don't be afraid to do that. Do it over a slow period of time. So there's a tipping point whilst you bring new clients in to replace that revenue, but don't become beholden to them. You are a quality service and you need to believe that from there. So you need to know your pitch. Can you pitch your services in 2 minutes? Can you differentiate your service offerings from other people? The service offerings now are very, very similar. So service offering is going to be based on value. So can you truly give a value offering to your client that they think after a 2-minute pitch, do you know what, that is different? Tell me more. I want to hear more. Because if you're not getting that after the first 2 minutes of your pitch to any client, you're missing out on something. So you need to build and review your service offerings to your clients. So pitching then becomes very, very simple. You need to plan your business pitches. Know who you're pitching to and why you're pitching to these people. So we need to pitch daily. If you want to get rid of the boom and bust in permanent recruitment, pitch daily. Don't be satisfied with the clients that you have. Be proud of the clients that you're working with, but never satisfied. So you need to make sure that we're forever filling that client pot up. And therefore, when we start to pitch, we pitch in blocks. This morning, I was pitching clients. I still pitch clients and talk to clients every single day. So I booked out from 9:30 to 11:30 to pitching. I got off pitching at 1:45 today because I had a client that I spoke to, started at about 11:30 and went on for quite some time from there. So I'm pitching every day and I'm preparing my pitches in blocks so I can compartmentalize my day, which means I can focus on that pitch and I become really ingrained in what I'm pitching. Okay. I practice my pitch constantly. In my head, running around constantly is a pitch. But when I'm practicing my pitch, what I'm also doing is perfecting my pitch. What worked well with that client? Can I then push that onto the next pitch that I'm doing? What didn't work? How do I change that? Trying to alter that. So when I start to think about developing my business, I'm not changing massive swathes of my business. I'm looking at small marginal gains, small marginal changes constantly in my pitch to improve my pitch. So I practice my pitch constantly. I develop my pitch constantly, and I learn from my failures. The thing that I learned most in any recession is I learned how to close and close hard. I wanted to make sure that once I'd closed a client, I'd shut that door properly. I'd locked that door, I'd bolted it, I'd nailed it up and boarded it up so no one else could get through that door. That was my job. So I learned to close really hard. To close hard, you've got to learn to overcome objections. So objection handling becomes really, really important. But I've also got to understand who is wasting my time and who is not. So every client gets terms and conditions at the end of every pitch. I never worked a position unless I had signed terms and conditions. I visit my candidate clients on a regular basis. Now at the moment, obviously, that's through video. So we can still get quite an awful lot, but you can't beat going on client site and understanding what that client wants. It's really important. So once we start to pitch clients, what do clients do? Well, clients will do a number of things. If it's a smart client, they'll listen to what you've had to say. and they'll listen to what you have to say, and then they'll go away and find evidence of that. So if you said that you're the most professional person in the marketplace, and you look at that, they're going to look at your profile. They're looking at your personal profile, your business profile, your company profile. So they're going to look at all of those things. So if your picture isn't a professional working picture, headshot and above, if it's you sat on a beach or riding a dog or riding a horse, whatever it be, walking your dogs, etc., is that portraying what you actually talk to them about? If your business site is just job, 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 there is nothing intellectual in the marketing department that says to the client that you are ingrained in the business, in the marketplace, then again, they're going to start to question the things that you've talked about. If your company doesn't replicate what you're saying and vice versa, if it doesn't perceive value, then what are you thinking about? And it's a quite interesting one. I've spoke to a client just recently. We talked about the company mission, and the company actually had 3, if not 4, if not 5 different mission statements written in different areas and different parts. So you think about, what confusion does that give to a client? What confusion does that give to a candidate? What confusion does that give to the company themselves on how they're pitching? So you've got to make sure that your profiles are really, really locked down, are absolutely professional, and they seem to be selling you in the right way. So if someone Googled you, what would they see? Would it be professional? Would it be uniformed? Would it be up to date? Don't underestimate the power of your profile and what your profile will give to people. Once they look at your profile, they're going to look at what you publicize constantly. It's a modern world, so we need to engage our audience. So we need to market to candidates and clients constantly. As I've said, don't just do job posts, okay? They need to be interesting articles, okay? It needs to be market information. It needs to be everyday topics of interest, news that is appropriate to your marketplace. But remember, we're not just posting out to the marketplace on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. There is our CRM. All those candidates that you have procured need marketing to. All those clients that you're speaking to, you have their direct marketing, their email address. Let's market to them properly. So whether you're posting daily on social media or you're marketing daily out to your CRM, a blended mix of them both is perfect. So it's not often how much you post, it's what you post. So if you're subscribing to daily news feeds and you're gutting at the market information that is interesting to your client, it only takes a couple of minutes to paste that post out. You could automate it, okay? But it keeps you in front of your audience daily. It provides you with the market information and leads that you can start to sell. And the final thing before we then start to really sort of dig into these properly and deeply, okay, is partnership, okay? We need to sort of partner with our marketplace, and recruitment agencies are really sort of good at this, but poor at this because they don't really advertise it. So you need to connect with influencers in your marketplace. So tag them on your social media posts occasionally. So what I mean by that, if you've got really good clients that you're working with, if you're asking your clients to comment on some of your posts, guess what? That then reaches their marketplace as well as your marketplace. It means that you're engaging with that marketplace. Then other clients start to see that and go, well, if they're working with that agency, they must be a good agency because we believe they're the best in the marketplace. So if your influencer is commenting on your posts, then brilliant. As I say, once they start to comment, it increases your circle of influence. Partner with your clients. How many times do I see clients not named on companies, your agency website that you're dealing with, but you're dealing with some major blue chip clients, some really great local clients. So we need to make sure we partner with them. So what else can you offer them outside of recruitment that can help them build their business? One of the big things that clients wanted is they want to attract more candidates to them directly. So if you're doing lots of marketing and working with that client on certain things and marketing and using their client's name as well, it will drive those type of candidates to us, which might be counterproductive in our thoughts that we're doing ourselves out of a job. But actually what we're doing is we're making that client more sticky to us. We're making that client understand that it's our marketing to the candidate marketplace that is helping driving that success from there. We need to partner with our candidates. The candidate journey is really important, okay? And partner with our marketplace by having meetups and doing webinars and things like that all the time. So our process now becomes really important, what we do. And I always say about a process, it's interesting when I speak to people all the time. First thing, learn the basics of recruitment really well. So if people are leaving your business and you've got salespeople in your business and you're failing and they're failing, I'd look at my recruitment processes really well. I'd look at my basics first of all. Have I taught them well to my staff? And have I taught them well? And have I learnt them well? If I'm a recruiter, I'd be thinking, I've got to improve every single day. So I need to know the basics, okay? I need to know my target audience before calling them. Who am I calling? So I'm not wasting my time. I need to plan those calls each day. I need to build a candidate base of at least 200 candidates that I have met and known and interviewed and are live and looking or will take my call. That will keep changing and keep flexing all the time. But if I do that every single month, then all of a sudden I've got a very, very strong candidate base database. I need to build a client base. Know who has potential to buy this month, buy in the next 3 months, know your target clients, who has projects and who has positions that are in my sweet spot. And if I'm pitching daily to them, then I'm in a really, really good position. I need to refresh my candidate and my client database regularly. That means sacking clients and stop working with candidates who mess us about. Again, I look at my recruitment process. Is it working? If I've got candidates that are not engaging with me properly, then move on, find a better candidate. I need to ask for referrals from candidates and from clients. Who can they introduce me to? And I need to learn something new every day. I need to learn from my mistakes and copy the experts. Now, you may have experts in your office, but we're now working remotely in the main. So where else can we get this information from? If I'm having a problem or I'm not succeeding, going back to learning my basics is really important. Usually, the experts at recruitment have one thing nailed down. They are brilliant at the basics. So call them, find out what they're doing, why they're doing it. So close control becomes really important. Know your market, okay? Know who makes you money and who doesn't. So that means review, regroup, review, regroup, review. Constantly look at your marketplace, what's happening. Look at the jobs that you're filling, not so much the clients, and then go find other clients with those type of jobs. So knowing your number is really important. And as we're coming out of lockdown, having a to-do list is fine, but having a to-do list means there are things I'm going to have to do. I write a success list every day, and what my success list, it talks about what I want to achieve and what I want to do. And so I start ticking those successes off. Little wins, small wins that motivate me to get bigger wins constantly. So let's go back to pitch, okay? What do we do with the knowledge we have and we apply it, okay? So the knowledge we have, learn something new every day and share it personally with your clients. So it's about reskilling yourself. It's about knowing your business every day. If you know your clients on a deeper level and you know who your primary target is within that client, who can they introduce you to? So every time I speak to a client and I'm going on to a client visit, I'll always ask, is there anybody else that you think would benefit from me meeting them today? So I'm going to double that up constantly. I want to know my niche landscape. Can I sell contingency? Should it be retained? Should it be exclusive to them? So I now know when I'm going on to that pitch what I'm doing. So I review my recruitment process constantly. I don't just leave it. I review it all the time. I'm making it better all the time. To do that, I need to review my clients on a regular basis. So my cash cow and my cash cows, I constantly want to know the man. Money, authority, need. Who is the person that can stop me recruiting? Who's the person that can stop me doing the right things with them? Okay. I will have a sponsor in the client. If that sponsor isn't the man, can the sponsor introduce me to the man so I can speak with that person and develop a relationship with that? If I'm a salesperson and I'm working in it, there's people on here from experience, and I'm working with a big client, get my directors talking to the person. If I'm a smaller company, level to level selling is really important. If I'm a CEO or an MD ringing up another MD, it's peer-to-peer selling, irrespective of the sign of the business. But it means that I might be dealing with the sponsor, as in the people on in the recruitment arm or the head of a department, etc. But if my boss is speaking to the managing director, I'm developing my process within that business. I'm developing my stickiness within that business. I'm developing my understanding. I'm becoming more influential within that business. I need to know what my client spends on recruitment every single year. And I've started clients pitching this already, and clients are starting to win. Clients that are spending lots and lots of money with you, okay? They're obviously spending money with other recruitment agencies as well. So let's say a simple client, okay, that spends 120 grand with you a year, okay? So a nice client spending that amount of money, or even 50 grand. Let's take 50 grand as a straightforward basic. If you said, Mr. Client, I want to save you, let's say 20%. So that takes 10 grand off that fee. 10%. So I'll do all your recruitment for a year for 40 grand. But what I want you to do, Mr. Client, is pay me up front £3,333 a month before I start recruiting. So now I'm getting money up front because I understand what their spend is. But by having money up front, I'm now committing myself to the client, and I'm going to commit myself to make sure I fill every job, because now I understand what he wants. He'll talk to me earlier about what he wants. I'm now developing the person above. I'm developing the sponsor. I'm developing a different recruitment process than they've had before. I want to know my internal threats, HR, internal recruitment, finance, okay? And I also need to know my competitors outside. This is where your adversaries become true competitors, because you're competing for the same piece of business. So if I can do that and change that, what can I do? I also need to know what my client's doing from an external point of view. Are they outsourcing parts of their services? Are they doing different things that might change my service? Are they looking at how AI could develop their internal recruitment process? So that is an external threat coming into me constantly. So I want to develop long-term plans. I want to call what I become sticky. So what services complement your standard recruitment model can you offer your client? What joint ventures can you partner with them? Meetups, develop opportunities to have webinars together to impart information into the marketplace. And who can your sponsor introduce you to? It is really important that we now change our pitch and we become more thorough. It's not just about picking a job. It's about working with this client over a long period of time, not on a niche basis. So we need to look for issues. Do you know how to cure your issues in your client? So we're developing your pitch, and I'm going to talk about this a bit. I'll talk about it now, actually. It's a very interesting and very old comment, okay? How many people still use the strange thing when we bring people in for an interview, for a sales job? Sell me the pen. Sell me this pen. And they go, right, this pen, it can be in blue, red, black, whatever color. You can change the color. It can be see-through. It can be solid. It can be whatever it. And they talk about the benefits of the pen, okay? The best person I ever saw sell the pen sat there in the meeting. He took the pen off the business owner, and the business owner looked at him and he said, can you write me out now what you're going to pay me if I sell you this pen properly? And he said, no, I can't. He said, why not? He says, because I haven't got a pen. Okay, well, let me cure my problem, your problem. Here's the pen. So he found the problem and cured the problem with the solution. So we need to develop our pitch so we understand what we're doing. So we need to pitch up the line, we need to pitch down the line, and we need to have defined objectives of understanding what the problem is within that client. We need to pitch across the business. There may be other areas in the business that we're not touching that we should be touching. We need to create lasting relationships with the C-suite, with HR, with back office to ensure that our service improves. We need to look for those issues, because the issue might not be with the hiring manager, the issue might be with finance, it might be with HR. How can we help them make our process smoother? We need to pitch, create candidates, and create joint ventures. We need to work hard on gaining referrals. So now my pitch is about pitching daily: grow, replace, maintain, and grow. And if we do that constantly, then that is what we do. So if we pitch in blocks and look to develop our cash cows and cash calves, then all of a sudden, when we start to pitch, we have a far more exciting day, rather than looking at clients that we know waste our time, clients that never pick up the phone. So refine your service on a regular basis and visit your clients constantly. So profile now becomes important again as we go back into our profile. So what does your profile actually attract? So when we talk about our profile, and we start to talk about our LinkedIn profile, does it attract candidates? Does it make yourself known to them? Does it give them an idea of the success that you've had within recruitment, or the success that you could give them into recruitment? When a client looks at your profile, does it promote your mission to them? Okay. Promote your mission to them, not success, is what I've written there. Because what a lot of people write about, and my profile probably is the same, it's about success, success, success. But what does that mean to the client? Nothing. The client needs to know my mission about what I can offer to the client, what the client wants to do. Because if I can get the client interested in the mission that we offer, then they're more than likely coming to work with us. So opportunities, make your mission come to life. So if someone Googled you, what would they see? What's your brand, your personal brand? Is it success? Is it professionalism? Is it you working with joint major clients, etc.? Do they see that you are a trusted advisor in the marketplace, that you are absolutely authentic, and when they read your profile, meet you and talk to you, it is the same thing. You are authentic all the way through. So do not underestimate the power of your profile. So therefore, on your LinkedIn profile, there should be references. There should be referrals. How many references do we get from candidates and clients? Get them on your profile. If we've won industry awards, get them up there. Accreditations give you kudos. So now when we talk about what we publicize, we're going to publicize your success, but not in the way that most people publicize success. Testimonials from candidates and clients named are really important, rather than John, an electrician from so-and-so, said. Full name, full company, okay? If you're doing joint ventures with the client, advertise that out there with the client. Engage your audience. Digitally, target managers in your niche. Personally, create white papers that they can read and see, and send them to their direct email address. Your social conscience is really important. So see what you're doing with your social conscience, because usually it's a social conscience post that create more conversation. Humanize yourself. Develop your employee branding. So to attract your competitors into your company and beat your competitors, and knowledge always beats ignorance. So if you know your market really well, do that. So that goes back to that partnership piece that we talked about. So partnership, work with influence in your marketplace, meet them and help them on their journey. It's interesting, I was speaking to a client about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he said, I remember working with you back in the late 90s, and we had a long conversation about that. And now he's come back to me now to talk about helping them on his journey further forward. Interview them and publish it, whether that be a podcast, whether that be a webinar, whether that be a white paper, whether that be a meetup, meet them, interview them. Doesn't mean to say that interview needs to be a one-to-one. It could be a stage show where you're sat interviewing a candidate with your audience of potential clients and candidates sat listening to what that client has to say. Think about how we can develop our BD. If I'm doing BD every day and I'm talking to one person every day, wow, that's a lot of BD to get through. I'm doing a webinar today and I've got 71 people at this moment in time on this webinar. So I'm now invertedly selling to 71 people to a certain degree. So if we did this from a recruitment point of view with a client talking about the client skill set, the client's talking about the business, other clients around them wants to hear about what they're doing, and you're the influencer in the marketplace. So partner with your clients, help them build your circle of influence in the candidate and the client marketplace. Partner with your candidates, help them magnetized to the client in your circle of influence, and partner with your marketplace. Meetups are really important. Webinars now become even more important as a different marketing tool to go to market with. So this is part of your marketing and sales strategy now becoming aligned and what's moving forward. So that means our processes know what they want and sell to it. So as I said, we talked about the pen. I want to know what the problem is so I can cure it. I know where I am. So make your recruitment foundation solid and add more technical skills to your portfolio, such as selling retainers, headhunting, and account development. Once you know what that client's issue is, then you can tailor your sale to that. But that means you've got to constantly work on that sale, constantly improve your sales technology. Know your target audience. Always have something they need. When that person took that pen off the interviewer needed that pen. So he had something that the interviewer needed, and he was then able to sell that pen back to the interviewer. Plan your day. Focus on the 80-20 rule, okay, times 2. And what I mean by that is 80% of your revenue tends to come from 20% of your client base. So therefore, find out what that 20% of your client base is and times it by 2. Find other clients like that. But let's be smart. Let's find other requirements, that the main requirements that we fill. Therefore, we might find more than 2 clients, more than 3 clients, etc. But build our client base. Therefore, we're targeting calls on clients that we know where we are strong at. So if you're going to a client and say, Mr. Client, over the last 3 years, this type of job, we have a 96% fill rate. How does that sound to the client? It sounds that you have the absolute cure for their problem to a certain degree. Know your candidate database intimately and keep it fresh. Interview your candidates constantly. Do not be a keyboard warrior. Do not be just pumping CVs out of people that you hardly know. Interview. Know your candidates' marketplace intimately. Develop your client database daily. Know your clients' buying circles. So you should have a minimum of 10 clients that you know every single week have a potential to buy from you. That means growing your circle of clients to make sure you have that number constantly. Have clients to replace those whose cycles are ending. What I mean by that, every client will have a recruitment cycle and then it will stop. If you haven't got someone else to fill that cycle up, we then start the boom and bust of recruitment in the permanent market. I've had 2-3 months where I've been up, but I've been working so hard on the jobs that I've canvassed on, I haven't done any BD, then all of a sudden you've filled all the jobs, or you've filled a percentage of those jobs, and then all of a sudden it starts to dive again. You have to BD daily to make sure that doesn't happen. Know who needs developing to a different level. So know which clients that you have that are potentially going to be your golden egg. Some of these clients will become your cash cow. Some will become cash calves. Some absolutely need sacking and getting rid of. So you need to make sure you sack clients who do not give you commitment. But let's try build first. Let's use quantitative data that we can go back to them with constantly. So build your personal and business relationships to last. Time and money. 20% of your client you should be reviewing constantly and sacking. 80% you should be developing constantly, and 20% you should be developing and expanding. Now, clients are going to go up and down in between each of those three sectors. But if you've no idea which sector your client is in, you might be trying to develop a client that's in your 20% that should be reviewed or sacked, and therefore you're wasting your time. You might be therefore looking at some of the clients in your 8% that you're trying to hugely expand, and what you're doing is actually switching them off because you don't understand what they need. You might be working with a client in your 20% develop and expand, but you've no idea how big that client is because you haven't got all the information on that client, and therefore you're missing that opportunity. So always make sure that you sectionize your candidates out, your clients out, so you know which type of client that is, what type of marketplace you're working with, and how you should be approaching and focusing on that client. That means your recruitment processes need reviewing. Your business processes need reviewing. Your targeted approach to the marketplace needs reviewing on a constant basis, not on a one-off basis. So, process. As we talk about process, pitch daily. We need to know what's the difference between urgent and what is strategically important. Urgency is filling jobs. Strategically important is pitching daily to make sure you always have a full pipeline constantly on the go. So if you can do what's urgent and strategically important every single day, you will be successful. Get your sponsors to introduce you to new buyers. We've talked about that an awful lot. If you've got a really good client in a business, likes and trusts you, who else can they introduce you to? Not just only in their own business, but in other businesses as well. Learn from your mistakes to remain a higher biller. Should be an S on the end there, sorry. So you learn from your mistakes to remain a higher biller, because your mistakes will start that roller coaster ride constantly. And if you don't correct those mistakes, then you'll constantly be on that roller coaster ride. And I've seen recruiters be in the marketplace for 10, 15 years who are still on that roller coaster ride because they haven't learned their mistakes about pitching daily and doing what's urgently and what's strategically important to their growth. Don't get comfortable with your cash cow, because if you get comfortable with them, I can guarantee you, then they'll stop. And then the question is, who's next? How long does it take to recover? How many businesses do I go into who are reliant on one or two major clients, and one of those clients has stopped and they're now in deep trouble? How many consultants do I see in the same process? So we've got to make sure we do not get comfortable with our cash cow. So it's about close control, close control. Yourself do not become success blind. What happens when you become success blind is you see yourself having some success and you stop doing the things that made you successful in the first place. You start to do the nice things that you like to do rather than the things that you had to do to make you successful. The things that you had to do to make you successful was building your marketplace in the first place. So if you stop building your marketplace, then your marketplace starts to deteriorate. Once it deteriorates, okay, then you've got to rebuild it again. You've got to put maintenance in again. So prevention is always better than the cure. So that's back to what's urgent and what's strategically important needs to be aligned constantly every single day. So we need to review your client and candidate activity monthly, quarterly, look for trends, identify opportunities early, address issues early. So think, if you're a recruitment manager and you're listening to this, or you're a recruiter and you're looking around your marketplace and you're seeing people leave your business constantly, it can't always be the people that are wrong. It might very well be the processes that are wrong and not working. So start to look at your processes, start to look at things, start to look for trends and address every area of that trend, not just one part. Become the key person of influence in your niche market. If you become the key person of influence in your niche market by what you publicize, what your profile says about you, and who you partner with, then what you have to be able to provide is the product, the candidate, or to the candidate, the client. If you become a key person of influence, then people will come to you. Now, there's a lot of call about people saying marketing will outperform BD. I think that is right and wrong. Marketing becomes part of BD, but unless you are doing proper BD speaking to clients, then you will never, ever complete where you want to be. If you amalgamate really good marketing strategy and a really good BD strategy and make sure they're working and intertwined together, then you'll become so much more successful. So to conclude, because we're just about to hit the hour, okay, product, you must build your product base. Pitch, you must know your market and pitch to it daily. Profile, in this day and age, your profile is important. Publicize, the power of social media can build your reputation quickly as well as destroy it. Partnership, partner with influencers and become an influencer. And process, make your process foolproof, constantly refine it, constantly review it. So that is building a permanent desk in the modern world. That is building a marketplace to last in a modern world. It's down to every recruiter to think, how do I complete that and do that constantly? So that's the end of today's session. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to push some questions towards me. If anyone's got anything that they want me to present on, or any part of the recruitment process they want me to present on that you think you need help with, by all means, drop a line to me and I'm quite happy to present that next week. That's not a problem. I'm quite happy to look at what you guys, because you guys are now coming out of lockdown. Some of you are still very firmly locked down. So let's start to work on what you guys want rather than what I think is important in the marketplace. So I'd like to thank you for your time, guys. It's been much appreciated. Enjoy your rest of Wednesday. The weekend's coming. I'm going camping. So let's hope the weather picks up. Guys, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.